anything. He is our resident social worker. He's your social worker as well. Gary Dierenfeld is back with us. Gary, good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks for being with us. I know you were at a big conference this week.
That's right. I was at the conference. It's AFCC. This is an international conference held in Toronto this year. And the attendees include family law lawyers, family judges, social workers, psychologists, mental health professionals, all people who work in the area of helping families navigate the court system who are going through separation and divorce, duking it out over the care of their children between them.
Gary, percentage-wise, today compared to, I don't know, say 20 years ago, are more families that are going through divorces ending up in custody battles, care battles in court today than they were, say, 2 decades ago?
What I can tell you is statistically it's always about the same.
Okay.
Roughly 80% of folks going through a separation or divorce are going to settle these things pretty much between themselves. They may have some third-party assistance. 20% are going to turn to the courts. Less than 5%, even if turning to the courts, are actually going to go to trial. Most matters settle ahead of a trial. And then there is that small percentage, that 1, 2, 3% that really tie up the court's time. And I, for whatever reason, find myself heavily involved with just those folks.
Well,
really?
that's fascinating. It's sad, too, but it's good that we have resources like you and some of your colleagues out there to help with these things. But let's go behind the curtain a little bit today, Gary, and get a sense of what types of situations you're dealing with in your profession.
These are remarkably challenging families to work with. They have diametrically opposed views on virtually everything, including what length the child's hair might be. And so, so they're unable to typically settle things amicably between themselves. And so they turn to the courts often to find relief, only to find, folks, that actually, in many, many cases, exacerbates their problems. It doesn't resolve them. And the reason for that is in turning to the courts, it's often a race to the bottom. I will prove my case by making you look worse than me.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be on the receiving end of that. So the other parent reciprocates in kind. And then this he said, she said escalates to such a pitch where it's hard to know one from the other.
Now, Gary, does the system put people through sort of forced mediation, psychotherapy, I don't know, all types of different counseling before they even allow a case like this to get to the level at which you have to intervene? In other words, are all other options exhausted by the time this happens? Because I know the system has no appetite for tying up the courts with this kind of stuff. They want everything to get resolved.
Right. And so, no, the system doesn't require that the parties subject to a litigation go through other processes first. And, that's why people like me like talking to people like you, Jamie and Rebecca, so we can get the word out to offer people alternatives to running to court in order to settle their differences, alternatives such as mediation or collaborative family law or negotiation. So that rather than having that race to the bottom, we like to engage in what's called interest-based mediation or interest-based negotiation. Rather than I simply want this and I simply want that, we like to get underneath it and say, well, why? And if we can discover some of the whys, maybe we'll find we actually have some common ground here by which to better attune the settlement of our differences.
So when you get into these situations with these couples, families that are just at absolute loggerheads with each other, right down to, as you pointed out earlier, the length of the child's hair, et cetera.
I don't say that facetiously, by the way.
No, I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. Or what color shoes they're wearing or whatever the deal is.
It doesn't matter.
And not to be frivolous. Sometimes the issues are serious, are weighty. A parent may have a significant mental health problem, a significant drug or alcohol problem that really does need to be addressed. But still, if we can divert from the court system and use these alternatives, yet put these issues on the table, we find that we can address them.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No.
What I was going to say was, or ask was, is it just all about winning for each person in the battle? That at this, all they want to do is win. They're clearly
there's a lot of anger.
Not
obviously.
thinking about the child. They're just thinking about taking it out on the other spouse and making sure that they win, that the court sees it their way, that they win, so that they can thumb their nose at the other family, the other side, and say, "See, I was right and you were wrong."
To validate.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Isn't that what it's all about?
Well, it becomes that many times that each parent is looking for validation of their point of view, and in so doing, they lose sight of what's really good for the child, although they're always using banting about the phrase, the best interest of the child. And many of these parents as well, they have been hurt one way or the other, be it having been jilted, embarrassed, shamed, physically hurt. And so some of them are looking to redress the imbalance, rewrite the wrong through the children and through access to the children. And that's when these things really fall off the rail, because the court system is not there for that. That might come about through counseling, but it's not going to come about through the court system. So many folks go through the court system only to feel victimized again at the end of it. And for everyone who feels the winner, guys, you got to know that the other party feels the loser. And when you have a winner and a loser, the loser is rarely happy, and losing seeks retribution. So we just go from one conflict to the next. Versus if we take it out of court and we're able to resolve some of the underlying issues, such that both parties feel reasonable about the settlement. No winners and losers, but we're both reasonably satisfied. Then there isn't that retribution, and you stop the cycle of tit for tat.
Well, and it's the kids that always suffer in these battles, and a lot of adults have a tendency to think, especially if the kids are younger, they're not picking up on any of this. They're kids; they don't get it.
They're always picking up on it.
Of course,
they are. If I had $1 for every parent who says my child doesn't know, then I interview the child, and the child's always saying, "Of course, I was there. I was at the top of the stairs. They may have thought I was asleep, or I came home and I saw the broken door." They witnessed the aftermath of some of these things. They witnessed their parents' distress. They're absolutely witnesses.
Kids know. They know.
And sorry, go ahead, Gary.
Well, we want to keep them safe from that harm. We want the parents at the end of the day to be intact, to be reasonable, and to be healed from the upsets that created the marital separation in the first place. And that's why we, again, want to divert from court to those processes that are more likely to facilitate the ongoing parental relationship. Because as much as you may divorce and no longer be intimate partners, you're joined at the hip for life as parents.
Yeah. You must shake your head sometimes and say, we've only got a minute here, but you must shake your head and say, how are these people ever together at all, ever, at some point in life? How did they get to the married stage of life? Because they're so unreasonable. You know what?
You can frequently see that, and then you follow the trajectory of the relationship, and you understand why it's no longer there.
Yeah.
And the challenge for people like myself is to reset that trajectory so that on a go-forward basis, the children don't need to be victims of a relationship gone awry.
Wow. Gary, how do people get a hold of you if they'd like to consult with you?
As always, go to my website, yoursocialworker.com. It's loaded with articles for parents to help understand these kinds of issues better, as well as the alternatives to court. You'll see them there on my website.
That's great. And Gary, you're actually speaking at St. Joachim Catholic School this coming week, are you not?
Yes, I am.
You are.
So call the school. Come on out. We'll talk about how to raise happy, healthy kids there.
Fantastic.
Great work.
Jamie, you'll be going.
I certainly will. I need the help.
I hope to see you guys.
We'll be there.
Let me tell you. Gary, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for this. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Gary. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There's Gary Dierenfeld, our resident social worker, yoursocialworker.com. So
it's a tough job.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
To
just
say the
listening
least.
to
Yeah.
what he had to say, it's running through my mind. I can't fathom it.
Unbelievable. We'll come back with more Sunday Brunch here on AM 900 CHML.